And hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live Q&A chat that we're doing here tonight here on QueueTimes. A little off than what we normally do, but we're going to be doing some community questions, Q&A, as I said before. Chat a little bit with our friend here, Thomas Maroney, who most of y'all know because we kind of chat him up. Thomas is the designer of the USS Ross. If y'all didn't know about that, back in the day when we were launching Clear Skies, we connected with Star Trek Online because back in the day on Shield of Tomorrow, we had a really good relationship with Star Trek Online. And since we were going solo, we decided to see if maybe we could do a follow-up. And the best we had hoped for was like, hey, maybe we could get a mention in STO. But no, they designed a whole freaking ship. They built the USS Ross. Thomas built the Ross for us. And it's good to have you here tonight, Thomas, to hang with us for this Q&A. For everybody who is joining us tonight, make sure to use capital letters for the questions. If you have any questions you want to send us while we hang out and chat for a bit. Stream should be about an hour long, so we're going to keep it kind of short and sweet tonight. But if you have any questions for the cast, if you have anything you've been wanting to know, any of the burning stuff that we can answer, because there's a lot of stuff, we're at a crucial moment in the story, and we might not be able to answer everything. But if there's anything you're curious about, we will try to get to that as best we can tonight in chat. So let's go ahead and get some announcements out of the way. I'll go last. What do you guys have? Do you have any announcements today? Xander, I'm sure you've got how many, was 40 or 50 games that you're playing?
Okay.
Which ones would you like? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, a few. I have my full schedules on my Twitter, but what I'm really excited about this week is the premiere of Power Rangers Day of Destiny, a new Power Rangers live play with their new system from Renegade. So the premiere episode will be this Friday at 8 p.m. on the Play Renegade channel. And then episodes 2 through 10 will be Monday nights at 6 p.m. over on the Renegade channel as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. Aki, do you have anything for us tonight?
Sure. In case you missed it, the VOD for yesterday's episode of New Pantheon, our musical episode, is available over on Saving Throw Show and will probably be up on YouTube very soon. But you should definitely catch it. It was fun. It was silly. We did all kinds of stuff from complete improv to pre-written songs to a couple of stuff that, is not going to get us taken down by the BMCA. But it was very, very fun. And our finale is next week, so definitely check that out as well. Speaking of finales, tomorrow is also the season finale of RP Game Changers, the show that I'm co-hosting with Colin Kelly over at Indicade Twitch. We have Ruben Bressler and Erica Fermina playing Good Society with us, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, last week was so delightful. I'm really excited to finish the game up tomorrow. And then, of course, you can catch me on Friday over at Distracted Elf's Twitch playing some Star Wars. We're playing the other one.
Dinner.
Yes, we're doing the other one. Desperate Gamble at 1 o'clock. Yeah. And then, of course, let's get Wildmount. But yeah, the big ones are 2 finales coming up soon.
So Aki is not doing anything, in other words.
Yeah.
I'm a slacker.
I'm pretty sure that's the end of the stream. I did say it was only an hour, so let's tonight. Aki's very, very busy. Speaking of finales, actually, I think somebody had a really rad finale just recently. If you're interested in catching the VOD, Sam, what happened this weekend?
I couldn't possibly comment.
No spoilers.
Spoilers.
But if I were not to comment, I would not be commenting about one, Gax Pack, which had a one-shot this weekend, GM'd by Eric Cambul? Do you know this person? Cambalier. Je comprends.
Yeah.
We had a real good time. I got to guest in that and play with much of the Gax Pack, and that was delightful. And thank you very much to Luke Gygax for letting me ruin the games on his very lovely channel. And then aforementioned season finale of Power Play. I can't believe Rick can even outdo himself on a season finale, but he really outdone himself. How is there more runway? He builds it, I guess. And now I get to talk with all my buddies and ask queries of he who gave us the hottest ship. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So we'll get to the questions here in just a second, but I have to start off with a really big announcement. And this is a pretty big announcement, y'all. So after a year of traveling on the USS Ross together, we now can definitively say that we have an end date for our campaign. It's bittersweet to announce this. And because of the scheduling window, it's become very challenging to do this announcement, but just so everyone knows, and so it's going to be getting out there, September 20th, the end of next month, we will be wrapping the main campaign of Clear Skies. We started this game over a year ago now.
It's been nearly 2 years.
It's been a hot minute. And this has been the longest campaign we have ever played, and it has had so many challenges. Thanks to all of the wackiness that is going on in the world, and us constantly like having to switch up what things are going on, switching to remote. This game was always meant to be a live play, like most RPGs. We had QueueTimes Studio lined up, and we had to adjust when COVID hit. So it's been really challenging, but really rewarding too, and it's really helped us push forward and like connect, and it's been absolutely wonderful. So I can tell you that September 20th is going to be our final episode for the main Clear Skies campaign. And this is challenging for a few reasons. To let everybody know, we have Blood of the Void next Monday. Then the following Monday, QueueTimes is actually going to be dark. On the 6th, QueueTimes, because Jake needs a vacation, y'all. The dude needs a vacation. Yes. Talk about busting your butt for a bunch of folks. Like, Jake deserves a vacation. What that means is we don't pick up our next game until the 13th of December. What that means is...
You mean September, my dude.
Yeah.
You said December.
I said December?
Yeah.
No, I said September. No, I said September because I'm actually looking at it here on the calendar. So we pick up the game. We're going to pick it up in our next game won't be until the 13th of September. And that means we have 2 episodes left of Clear Skies. So the next episode of Clear Skies will actually be the penultimate episode. So it's a lot. Everyone's calling me out for getting the month wrong. I swear I thought I said
it was
September.
fine. It was smooth. No one noticed.
I swear I thought I said September. My poor adult 40-year-old mind.
But catch us on December 13th on QueueTimes.
Catch us on December 13th.
Definitely be
I don't know what we're doing.
Something.
Yeah. Something will be happening on December 13th. Is that a Monday? Is that it is a Monday. Yes,
oh my God.
Catch us on December 13th. It's bittersweet to deliver this news, but it's all for good reasons. It's because we're moving upward and onward, and we have so many other stories. There are characters that we have never met that are waiting for us to tell their stories, and we are eager as hell to meet them and to build stories. And we have been playing Star Trek Adventures for like 2.5 years now total, with Shield of Tomorrow going on 3
decades. Yes.
Yeah. So it's been lovely, and we're excited to explore other worlds out there and perhaps build our own. We'll see what happens. But so that's the big news. The big news is we have an end date for Clear Skies. The other news that we were going to share with you is coming up next in the interim after Clear Skies. I'm very pleased to announce that that's when you can expect to see us start playing a good old game that was originally meant to be a one-shot, but was just way too popular to put down. We were going to be picking up where we kind of left off in a game called Starjam. So if you like Spelljammer and seeing the wackiness that takes place, or if you've ever just sat alone in the middle of the night, just like eating ice cream and thinking to yourself, God, I really want to see Sam Delev play a dragon. This is your opportunity. We heard you.
Whoa.
We heard you.
Eric Campbell, are you telling me that Spelljammer is confirmed?
Spelljammer is confirmed. You know what? When I was asked at D&D Live, when they were like, so what D&D stuff are you up to? And I'm like, well, shit, I can't say anything about Starjam because because the D&D community is watching it, and Wizards of the Coast will be like, "Who the hell? No, we're not doing Spelljammer." So anyway, so yeah, we'll be picking up Starjam shortly after, and we'll give you guys dates when we're ready for that. So that announcement will be coming down the pipe soon. But that are the two big announcements that I had, aside from the fact that Blood of the Void is next Monday, so don't miss it. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and jump right into our Q&A tonight. We've already got a bunch of questions that have popped in, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start throwing some questions at you. The first one, the honor of the first question, rightly goes to one Chandra. And Chandra asks, have the senior staff watch the episode of with the other half of the party? That's a good question, Chandra. I'm guessing no, because if so, we would have probably seen a tweet or maybe at least like a picture of Sam crying once they realized that we actually started the last episode off, all of us saying that we were excited and doing flappy hands because Sam wasn't there.
I have no idea whether or not that's true or whether it's troll. Like, I don't know, and I just
enjoy.
I can't.
Yeah. I don't usually watch episodes of Clear Skies that I'm not in specifically because I don't want to be spoiled, quote unquote. It's fun to experience things as they're like explained to you in character when you come back. So.
I have heard that there was a separation in two pieces, though.
Yeah.
Hey, as Thomas Maroney would say, like, she is built for that. I just don't know if the separation was at the correct point. I don't know, and I don't want to know because I want to live Soul's truth as they cry out, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Soul perpetually lives in the Darth Vader what? Just like
And I only have one simple rule. It's just one rule. Holes in my ship.
Yeah.
Just one. I'm a very true captain.
Yep.
I can promise you that no holes ended up in your ship.
And
I will say, just as an overall like answer to a general question like this, for a lot of us, as we had just demonstrated with our schedules, we are constantly working and stuff like that. So to have time off to be able to not stream or, you know, take some time to really live in life is really nice too. So
I ate dinner with my family.
Yeah,
is what I did.
Yeah,
on Monday night. But also keeping like all of the what does my character know, what do I know kinds of things straight. Well, I mean, that just doesn't come naturally to many of us. And so it makes it easier in general. I like to minimize metagaming, not because of like I would do weird things, but because it allows me to play through my character to whatever I can figure out. And that means sometimes playing to the highest level of your intelligence. Sometimes it just means I don't have to figure out if I've already gotten this piece of information that would allow me to act because I, Sam, don't know it yet. So I'm not stressing about a thing I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
Playing to the highest level of your intelligence, or in this case, playing to the highest level of your ignorance.
Oh, wow.
Hey, very, very profound.
I can kind of sympathize as somebody who works on a video game. A lot of people ask me, you know, do you play Star Trek Online? And I do, but I definitely need breaks sometimes because I just and, you know, it also kind of stinks when you're like spoiled on, you know, the new storyline and all the things. You played the same, you know, TFO over and over and over again in the playtest. So you're like, once it goes live, you're like, cool, I already did this like 90 times.
Right. Well, and how long has this game been going online?
It'll be 12 years, I think.
That's about right. Yeah, because I started. I was in the beta for Star Trek Online. I was so wild about that game.
That is like,
you know, as almost a teenager.
It is.
Yeah.
Look at its learner's permits.
I was still in my 20s when I was playing Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
When it first launched.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah,
like
I was like
80
29.
billion in internet years.
Yeah.
I was still in my 20s when I started working on Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
I've been with the game for most of that time.
I still remember Leonard Nimoy was actually doing a lot of promotion for Cryptic back then for
Oh,
STO when it was
yeah.
coming out.
Mhm.
Yeah, he even got on stage and did a live like chat with everyone. We all watched with bated breath And this is back when like internet was still kind of, we didn't have, not everybody had high speed back then. So like, so it was like watching this small window, but Leonard Nimoy talking, and it was great. I still remember he spent like 10 minutes talking about the most recent Jewish holiday with somebody in the front row. And I was like, I was just like, man, I feel like I'm right at home. Like this dude just welcomed me into his house. It's pretty wild. And his voice is still all over Star Trek Online. It's on like data pads you get for your characters. You can still just like listen
and
to
the
it.
tutorial, right?
Yeah, you hear him talking. Oh man, so many memories. Actually, the next question kind of ties into that. And Thomas, you and I can both answer this. The question comes from Seawall 101, and the question is, why did Thomas opt to go with the Galaxy class as the basis for the Ross? And I think I can answer that with you, Thomas. It's because we knew we weren't going to do a science exploration vessel this time around. We had played around with the Sally Ride, but I wanted to explore new stories. So not just science mystery, but kind of everything. And I wanted to expand the mission profile. So I knew that I wanted the crew to have a bigger ship. The crew decided to pick what ship they wanted, though. So like what that profile was going to be. And the crew went with Galaxy class. So is that correct, Sam, or do you remember that differently?
Oh, no, I wasn't making a face about that. It was the Maroni cat.
The Maroni cat. Right. Sam either gets that expression on their face when I've said something wrong, or they've seen doggo or cat. So
I think if I remember right, we had the discussion like at your kitchen table, Eric.
Yeah.
And it was that Ravity was pretty unfamiliar with Star Trek at all, but had been somewhat familiar with Next Gen. So we're like, oh, let's use like that as a base so that you have a good mind map of, and we were all familiar with it.
Yeah. So when we discovered that there was going to be because when we were designing the ship originally, the Ross was just going to be a Galaxy class. It was just going to be a Galaxy class. But when conversations started happening about doing a custom ship, like so much of that was actually Thomas introducing like new ideas once we discovered tell me if I'm remembering this correctly, Thomas, but I remember us having a discussion about what her mission profile was going to be. And then you just started imagining things like giving her a promenade deck was your idea.
Yeah. And
adding that in. And then all of a sudden she started becoming a whole new class of Starship, a complete variant of the Galaxy class.
Yeah, and part of this was it really was just kind of the timing worked out perfectly because we needed we were going to build out a new bundle for STO called the Legendary Starships bundle, and we had we wanted new versions of like the 10 hero ships in Star Trek, right? So obviously Enterprise D is a Star Trek hero ship, and so I wanted a new model to go out with that bundle for the Galaxy class. Every other ship had like a canon variant we hadn't done yet, but the Galaxy class really is just the Enterprise D. There are a couple extra bits that show up here and there, but we already had all those, so it was time to create something new. And so I was like, oh cool, well if Clear Skies is going to get off the ground and they're going with a Galaxy class and I need a new Galaxy class variant for the game, then why don't I just make exactly bring it together and do the Ross as the legendary Galaxy variant.
So cool. And then Thomas and I started having conversations about what we wanted the Ross to look like. I love the Galaxy class and I'm very fond of the Sovereign class, but my favorite starship to this day is still the Enterprise refit, the Enterprise A. Although I gotta say, the Discovery interpretation of the classic Enterprise, that is some fine ship right there. The new, I'm just saying that like I have to confess I was not a huge fan of the Abrams take on the Enterprise.
Sure.
But the new classic approach kind of combined the refits with the classic Enterprise at the same time. The saucer section was a little different. It was a little wider on the nacelle ports and stuff. It just looked great. I just thought it looked amazing. So when Thomas and I started talking about this, that was kind of the mindset I was in before we even knew that Enterprise was coming along. So I told Thomas I would love to see a rounder saucer section, and I would love it if we could get the neck that the Sovereign class has with sort of that reinforced hull in the back. And so I just kind of pitched ideas. And I was also a huge fan of, I think, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the Andromeda class, I think, that has the neck that goes all the way down the line of the ship to the very back. So it's not just like a thin neck that holds the saucer. The whole thing is utilized. So the entire ship's body is utilized. That's a design that's unique to Star Trek Online, and I thought it was fantastic. So I wanted something closer to that. And Thomas kind of found the middle ground for all of it and created a hybrid Galaxy Sovereign class for us. And the NX Ross was born.
Yeah, and that was exactly kind of where I was going, because you talked about when the show was going to be set, and it's set after Nemesis. And so that's, you would think about, okay, what is the next iteration of the Galaxy class in 2380, 2381? What is that going to look like? And Star Trek fans, Star Trek fan artists have been doing this sort of hybrid Sovereign Galaxy class for as long as I can remember, but I had never gotten to do one myself. So this was, my chance to take that idea and run with it, and also get to put it in an official Star Trek video game.
So good. Way more than we expected. I was so thrilled. So,
and now there are but 2 classes of ship. Ross class, and those poor benighted vessels that are not as hot as the Ross class.
Let's see. Next question. How likely are we to have guest appearances by other Shield to Tomorrow cast members? This question is from Flaming Idiot 25. So,
I mean, if that isn't a mood.
So we had Amy on, and of course it's been great to have Eliza back in the fold. Hector, when Hector was kind enough to come in and do the Q&A with us when we first launched the show 252,312 years ago, when he was kind enough to come in and do that, I'd had conversations about like, hey, would you like to come guest sometime? And Hector loves gaming. He loves playing with his friends and stuff like that. But Hector's first love is comic books and commentary. And he loves dedicating his time and energy to that stuff. It's why you don't see Hector on RPG shows anymore. Instead, he's very dedicated to what he's doing on his YouTube channel and promoting on like Twitter and stuff like that. And he's doing great. So there weren't any plans to ask Hector to come back and play, because he had kind of just let us know where he was at. But Hector's always been a big, he's always promoted us. He's always been super cool, and he's liking retweeting us, stuff like that. So Sally Ride fam is still very strong. So that would be my answer to that one.
And every time we have a staff meeting, Hector is there with us.
Yes, in spirit, Hector is there with us. Every time I push my glasses up at the very right corner and then click my nose.
Wow, it's like he's here.
Hector is with us. All right, so what else we got? So this is Sean, a Trek master. What's up, Sean? Good to see you again. What would happen if the USS Ross was branded a renegade ship, and what would happen to the crew? And what would the crew do to prove its innocence? In parentheses, Sam will deny all shenanigans. Sam will deny all knowledge of any such shenanigans.
I mean, yes, that is the first step. Deny everything.
Yeah. If you ever seen the movie Spies Like Us, the 3 rules are: act surprised, express concern, deny everything. Oh my God, that happened? Wow, is everyone okay? No, I don't know anything about it.
I mean, look within the world of possibility that Trek contains, and look how, and I consider this genuinely to their credit, how credulous members of the Federation are. That isn't to say that they're gullible or that they're naive, but one thing that I'm not the first to observe is that if someone on the crew says, hey, this weird thing is happening, it's very rare for another member of the crew to be like, no, it isn't. Even though that's a very common narrative trope in television writ large. People will believe that crew member and help them solve the problem. Okay, now what can a bad faith actor take from this? Which do you think? Do you think we're a renegade ship, or do you think something very strange and cosmic is going on?
That is such a brilliant point, because one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek is the episode where Beverly is caught in the warp bubble. And the universe is collapsing.
Yeah, what I was thinking of when I say.
Yeah, because at every single turn, the universe is changing, but the one thing that doesn't is the people that it still exists around her continue to give her a benefit of the doubt because they know Beverly is insisting that something is wrong. To
Right.
the very end, when it's just her and Jean-Luc on the bridge, he still is running a full scan, even though it's just the two of them, and he says something outrageous like, "We never needed a crew. It's just a doctor and a captain." Yeah, it's true. Star Trek. I think we have gotten to a point too with all the great sci-fi that is out there. We have left the classic serialized Trek from back in the day, or the classic one-off episodes back in the day. Like it's not usual to see an episode. TV isn't made like TNG is made anymore, or DS9 or anything else like that. Instead, so like back in the day, like those characters, as Sam has pointed out, anytime something weird would happen, we would go into it, and people were not just treated like they were fools. They engaged the mystery. But now things are a little more realistic in television. So if somebody says something wild like the proto-molecules bringing people back from the dead and it's causing them to destroy other people, the characters' first reactions are not going to be like, well, we need to get a scan. It's going to be like, yeah, why don't you go sit in an airlock? I don't need to know this.
Sit in an airlock.
Yeah. So, because sci-fi's changed. So anyway, yeah.
I will say, if it was like a forced situation where we were outliers, a la Voyager or something like that, I would much rather be on the Ross than Voyager, because as we just described, I feel like we're very equipped to be on our own.
We're so capable. We're so big. We're so strong.
Yeah.
Like Voyager was like mid-weight against most things that they came up against and relied on their technological advantage. We can just be big, thick, beefy. Don't mess with us.
Yeah. It's also worth pointing out that of all of the capital ships that the Federation flies, the Ross is one of the most staffed there has been in ages. Because I think we did all this research when Thomas was building the Ross. I was doing a lot of research on because I wanted to familiarize myself with the Galaxy class. So I kept like looking at those great like YouTube videos that did like virtual tours and stuff like that. I was also looking at like the populations of ships and how big it was. And Thomas was showing me blueprints of the Galaxy class and like where quarters are located and where the promenade was going to be. And we were stunned to find on a ship that big, a ship that you could stack like 2 full-scale American nuclear class like aircraft carriers from end to end, and that would be the length of the damn ship. Like this sheer immensity. It's a city in space. And what you find out is that the Enterprise D and Galaxy class ships only had like 1,100 people on board, which is why it actually is perfect that you barely saw anybody in the hallways on that ship.
Right, there was a whole YouTube video to that effect, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I remember us watching it as prep. And then
like
that night, after watching it, you doubled my crew compliment, and I had a stress.
I remember that. I was like, you know what? Because Aux Crew is going to be in on this, so we're going to fill it up. So like,
it was like 3 nights before premiere, and I was like, I'm sorry, how?
So the Ross was just very good at their marketing for recruiting.
The Ross is a city in space.
Yeah.
She is huge. I've tried in the narrative to illustrate how big she is. But the point to all of this, the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because if the Ross went renegade, this would have to be a hunt for that October situation where the crew, even though you're loyal to the captain, you would need to get all 2,000 plus crew members on board with that, or they would have to not know what was up.
Right.
So that's kind of that situation.
Not great secret keeping.
But here's also how I would play that as a GM. Very much like we did on Shielded Tomorrow. Remember when we had the Aux Crew all swear that we weren't going to tell Starfleet about Jenny? We had everyone in chat, Ship of Secrets, that's right. Everybody in chat basically went on and swore they weren't going to say anything. Everyone was tweeting at us and stuff like that. So I guarantee you if the Ross ever had to go off the map, Aux Crew would show up for it. So
ever had to? I'm pretty sure already did. That.
Right, I feel like Sorex was some of that, quite honestly.
Sorex was definitely some of that, yeah.
Also, I thought there were no spoilers. There are still 2 episodes, and based on like just how we've done, there's time. Maybe that's the finale. Who knows?
You know?
Maybe we're just renegades out, Renegade Ross. Who knows?
Yeah. In which case, we'll rename our show Star Trek Renegades. No.
Oh no.
No, this would be such a good actual premise for a show. I'm here for it. I love it.
So Xeno, what's up?
Oh, I was going to say just real quick. Never mind. Go on with the more questions.
Well done. Okay. So Xenocore01 has the question, how many players have actually experienced a character in a leadership position? So this is a big question too, because I don't mind telling y'all that, like, you know, on top of the stress and pressure of going solo when we first launched Clear Skies, because it was our first foray outside of Geek and Sundry, there was a lot of pressure on all of us, none more so than I think on Sam Delev, who was going to be stepping into a big leadership position. What are your thoughts on that, Sam? I know that of all the other players that have been in leadership positions, I think it's just been you and Gina. Has anybody else here played characters in leadership positions for crews or games?
I mean, Grohl was kind of sort of in charge of the Star Jam, so
that's true.
No, not kind of.
You were helm boss, so you were basically flying the ship. Yeah.
But as a general rule, I usually play support class characters.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think this will go to a point that we've made, or that you will make, in that I've GM'd for Star Trek Adventures before, and in that case, making the captain or a lot of the upper ranks as NPCs and playing them that way makes the table a little more balanced than having one player have superiority over the others.
Yeah. That was one thing that that's a story that I've had to tell a few times when we first launched Clear Skies. The conversation that I had with Matt Colville back in the day, when he was talking about how challenging it was going to be to run Star Trek because you're giving players rank over each other, and that's not fun.
I mean, it can be. But
it can be, it can be if you're down for that. And there's some of us who've really enjoyed playing subordinates and having to follow an order that our character doesn't want to follow. That can actually be a lot of fun to play. But sometimes it really does take bending the narrative sometimes, because if Sol says, go to your quarters, what do you okay, so because if you decide to not obey an order, now the story becomes about insubordination. So like, how do we do that? So at the very beginning, and Sam, feel free to jump in here, but like when Sam and I were first discussing the captain's role, there was a hot minute where we were thinking about making it an NPC, but then Sam really wanted to take on the role, and I really wanted you to take on the role. Yes, I remember.
We wanted you to take on the role.
Yes,
I don't remember any part where I wanted to. That part I don't.
I think we all just assumed it was going to happen. And Sam kind of begrudgingly was like, "Fine." I think if Sam could have chosen anyone else to be in charge, they would have happily done so.
If you think about it, most of our games that we've played together from back in the day have had sort of a ranking structure. There was the Doctor, and then there was Shield of Tomorrow. Calisto 6 didn't really have a clear ranking structure, but
nobody was in charge of that guy.
Almost purposefully, yeah.
Captain Luma.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That's true. Luna was the leader, actually. But the point is that when Sam and I were discussing the captain's role, we had a really interesting discussion about how captains function in Star Trek Adventures. Sam is the bard of the party and the cleric of the party. They're the support class. The captain role is the ultimate support class. And that's how we've kind of leaned into it, because everything that Sam's character and even Hector's character was designed to do as command staff is all, when you're not out on your own, it's all about buffing the people around you and giving them extra actions, giving them commands, ordering it up so they get to enhancing their momentum spins and stuff like that. So what's fun about that is the leadership role really functions well as a support class. Would you agree, Sam?
I think mechanically, yes, it does. I don't think that's how we play Sol.
No, that's not how we played Sol. No.
Like, in effect, Sol's primary contribution is usually non-mechanical, in that we have a lot of people who can cover most of the things that the captain traditionally would. We have a disproportionate number of people with strong face abilities, like our ambassador, like our commander. So those bases, like the insight and the presence, have always been pretty well covered. And so even things like, I have barely used my advisor talent until very, very, very recently, because I didn't have to. People's command score wasn't so far below mine own. But certainly I've played Sol to work into the realities of ranking structure. I made them a character who would be fairly permissive with command, and that was a deliberate choice, because I didn't want... You have to do a lot of non-verbal or like subtextual negotiation with other players when you're having those kinds of conversations. And because we wanted this to be a table where people were very free to contribute their ideas, Sol became the kind of captain who would be like, yes, go with it. It's why they are such a cheerleader for their crew, and why they're about, I already have the best people. I'm going to let the best people go and do things. But rather than sort of like the party buffing, I think what captaincy became to me was a very interesting role of taking what the GM had given us and then trying to figure out how to break that down into questable chunks and then pitch it to the party as like, hey, here's a game plan. Really, most of what I have done as Sol has just been interpret the situation and try to figure out some game plans. And that's usually not a thing that devolves to a single player, and it's certainly not a thing that is exclusively Sol's. Again, they're very permissive. If someone has another plan, I take that as like a counter pitch and like, yes, and yes. But that's really been what the captain is. It's interpreting the situation and then being commanding by just trying to build a quest out of what we see in front of us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There are a couple of fun things. First of all, so I have a friend who works who worked at the office. He worked at the Naval War College and all this stuff. But he told me an interesting thing about how the Navy works, which is that they practice command by negation. So they will basically train people to do their jobs, and then people know, like, if X happens, I'm supposed to do Y. And the captain just sort of lets everything happen. And if somebody does something wrong, that's the only time the captain speaks up and says, no, I want you to do something else, because I know that, like, this situation calls for Z instead of Y, right? So I think that's kind of interesting, just in a general sense.
Yeah, it seems like that's a strategy that seems like it would invite creativity and thinking outside the box from your subordinates, basically, right. and avoid the micromanaging, which is basically a morale killer.
It's a style that assumes competence.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it's actually kind of, I think it'd be hard to write a TV show like that, because you want the captain to like, oh, they're in command, they're telling people what to do, that's their job, right? But like, a real manager, you don't want your manager breathing down your neck all the time, telling you to, to push the green button, like,
that's the thing. It's actually management simulator, and how much do you hew to TV, which usually makes too much of a protagonist out of the captain for something that would work at a table where there is not a protagonist and there should not be a protagonist.
Exactly.
But management simulator is absolutely the weirdest part of playing a Star Trek game.
I was kind of astonished when I played a captain for a couple sessions of STA, and I was kind of astonished how much I leaned on my experience as a manager to be a good captain character and make sure that everybody on my team was doing the right thing. And honestly, the thing that I had the most struggle with was, like, what do I tell the XO to do? You know what I mean? And then because, like, everybody else has a specific, like, that's the science person and that's the tactical person. But the XO, in terms of STA, I sort of had to remember to delegate a lot of things to them, a lot of general, like, make sure this gets done, so that they had their own little storyline and thing to do.
Right, because you didn't have a Gina DeVivo. It's a very rare quality, but like, that's the other thing. I didn't have to do anything. Gina exists.
I was going to say too, like, we also, with Aki and I, we played outside of the command structure in a way of playing like not Starfleet necessarily a traditional path. And then with the ambassador too, I forgot, did the Ross have the diplomatic suites first and then you decided to play an ambassador?
No, I decided to play an ambassador first.
And then it was, okay. Right. What was something that, like, drew you to that?
So I knew that I knew I didn't exactly want to play somebody who was in the command structure. At the time when we were sort of developing the crew for the Ross, I was looking at something a little bit, like, I guess, upper level. But Ambassador turned out to be an interesting choice because it gave Sam, especially somebody outside of the command structure with whom to, like, kind of relate. Because often the thing you see is that captains sort of end up sort of solitary because they can't really become friends, quote unquote, with the people who work under them. So it's not something that we've gotten a chance to play with too much, but hopefully we'll see what happens in these next couple of episodes with that. But yeah, it was a good opportunity to give Sam something for Captain to do besides always be in charge.
I can add to that and say that we also that when Aki decided to play Olin, that's when we realized that we could actually equip the Ross to supplement what Aki was trying to do with Olin. Because if we were going to have that, amazing promenade deck, then it would stand to reason to just like we should use that as a diplomatic suite bonus in order to host like diplomatic negotiations and whatnot. And so that was so Olin inspired that basically. Brought that in. It's just another example of like a player coming up with a cool out of the box character that contributes to the world. I mean, that's how Raft City happened in Callisto 6. Is Gina just started coming up with ideas of where that character came from and lived, and bam, we had Raft City by the end of the night. So it's really, I love it when people contribute. And my hope is that in the future, whatever game I run, whatever group we like assemble, is that people are able to contribute what their characters are, pieces of their characters, so that I got a question here for Thomas Maroney.
Okay. He froze up there a little bit at the end there.
I did?
Yeah.
So you're back now.
I think there was a server choke, honestly, because I lost picture from Bunchy for a moment.
Me too, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was, okay. Cool.
So question, this is from Felderberg. How did the 25th century STO white/black aesthetic come about? I wasn't playing STO for a few years when it first popped up, but it came back after it was well established, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, that was pioneered by Adam Williams, one of our first ship artists, when he was doing the Enterprise F. So the Enterprise F was kind of where we sort of turned the page as far as the visual identity of ships in Star Trek Online. They started off when the game launched as being very chunky and blocky, and it was just sort of take the existing ship and just add a bunch of crap to it. And you know, it was sort of a fact, you know, like a factor of the fact that the ship artists at the time really didn't have a lot of time to make the ships that they were adding to the game. They maybe had like 2 or 3 days, whereas now we have like 3 weeks. So obviously we have a lot more. Yeah, we have a lot more time to consider what we're doing. But with the Enterprise F, we had a new art director at that point who was much more interested in aligning the look of the game with Star Trek. We sort of began to understand. It was about a year into the game's life, and we understood like, oh, weird, people want to play a Star Trek MMO because they like Star Trek. And so the new art director was like, we need to make this game feel a lot more like Star Trek than it has. And so the Enterprise F was, you know, we're going away, like doing a 180 from all the blocky modular stuff and really sleeking it out and making it more organic. And so they sort of realized, and I got to kind of watch this process from the bleacher seats because I was on the team, but I was not a ship artist yet. I was doing UI, but I was like, I love ships, and I was so heavily invested in ships, and like I kind of just butted into that process and asked if I could just like, you know, chime in and throw some ideas on there. So I got to see it happen. And so Adam saw the evolution. So the Galaxy is just kind of this, it's kind of like battleship gray, right? And you have the pearlescent white of the Enterprise refit, and then you have the kind of battleship gray of the Galaxy and the Defiant. And then when you get to the Sovereign class, the Enterprise E, you start to see you've got now these really dark panels kind of after the saucer that creates this really awesome arrowhead shape, and then you have bright white and kind of tan panels, and start adding, you know, areas of definition and contrast in the hull. And so it seemed natural to evolve from the Enterprise E into the Enterprise F by taking that high contrast look and even like exaggerating it even more. And so another thing that was really big in gaming around that time in 2012, 11, 12, you know, like Mass Effect was riding high. And so you had a lot of Sid Mead futurism was really in the video game zeitgeist. And so a futurist look, there is a lot of like really high contrast black white. I mean, even the Tesla robot they just announced, right? It's got like a black head and a solid white body. Like it's a very clean futuristic look, kind of inspired by the space shuttle, I think. And so that's where that look originated from.
Fun fact for those of you who don't know, Thomas didn't just design the Ross. Thomas also designed the Streampunks logo. Thomas has been the person we've turned to every single time we need a logo or anything else like that. Thomas has been the person we turn to. So huge contributor to what we're doing, and we are grateful for the record.
Thanks. It's a lot of fun to do.
Pretty.
Yeah.
It is Thomas's fault.
Yeah. That actually reminds me, Taliesin has consistently complimented us on our logo and wanted me to extend his deep appreciation for your work, Thomas.
Oh, awesome!
Because he loves the Streampunks logo.
Is that thing out yet?
Is what now?
The thing, the Taliesin thing. I don't want to say what it is.
Oh, yes. The hammers. Yep, the hammer design.
Yeah.
So if you guys go onto our store, our online store, you will see that we have a Tea Time and Brunch pair of hammers. Thomas Maroney also designed that for us too. So thank you for that, Thomas. That is up in the store. Yeah. Awesome. Let's get to some more questions. We got 15 minutes is what we're aiming for, an hour. I knew we were going to go a little over, so it's no big deal. But yeah. So this one is from Vermilion Crimson. Is Ilkat Etlan Odo's first at this time? I ask because I've been doing a DS9 rewatch and learned that the Jim Hadar baby that Quark found, Dukan Rex, becomes Odo's first during the time of STO. I love that character. It was so interesting to see that character and to watch the Federation struggle with their own values when this Jim Hadar is being raised and it is designed to be a living weapon, and yet you cannot just treat it like a thing. This is a person. Back in those days, the Jim Hadar were just tools of the founders. One of the things that I adore about, and I'm going to go ahead and admit this, my favorite faction in STO is the Dominion now, because and the reason why is because of the storyline that has been given to them of Odo setting the Jim Hadar free to dictate their own destinies and serve the founders how they see fit, but also to learn how to live and become. It's just super rad. And that is actually the inspiration for Ilkat Itlan. I'm trying to sort of hint that this is the beginning of Odo's big push to do that. Because in STO, Odo doesn't start wielding his influence until, I don't want to give away the storylines, but until the crisis moments that are happening in STO is when Odo really emerges from the Great Link and starts exerting his influence. I'm approaching it from the point of view is that Odo is currently in the Great Link right now, as it would be in the Star Trek timeline. Doesn't mean he can't exert his influence. In fact, that's actually one of the great benefits of Odo being involved in the Great Link. Everyone is finally, all the changelings are finally coming to understand what it is to fall in love and friendship and like everything that Odo went through. The founders are finally coming to understand solids a little bit better without the influences of their genocidal, just like that person, that one changeling, that founder that just wanted to destroy Cardassia and conquer the quadrants. As a result, it's why you see a rebellious side in Ilkat Itlan as a result of that. So answers only to Odo. So yeah. So no, not the first for Odo, no, but definitely answers to Odo, directly to Odo, as we've kind of hinted at. This question is from Jareth42. Which episode, okay, this is for everybody. Which episode do you think has the most honkitude? I already know which one I think. Let's start with you, Sam.
I wasn't even there, and so I'm mildly offended, but what better honk than the, in fact, OG honk when after a fundraiser whereby, look, for the record, I put that reward tier for the Hollow Goose in there because I wanted it, and then it happened, and this is why I shouldn't be in charge of things. When our party first split into the twins and the folks on the Ross, the twins played by Jackson and Jody, sent the Hollow Goose as a weapon to cause further honk. Though I like to imagine that it is the glitch that keeps on giving. That somehow that ship will send the Hollow Goose as a weapon to another ship to cause chaos, and so on throughout the quadrant.
It's just going to be the ultimate chainmail.
Yeah.
All that time and energy spent developing a bird of prey that fires while cloaked, and the Federation comes up with a holographic goose they can just beam on board someone's ship to just wreak havoc.
That is kind of the most Federation thing ever.
Yeah.
Though.
True.
Yeah. Aki, what do you think?
My favorite moment, like
The moment, the episode that you think has the most honkitude. Which one? Do you think?
Geez. I mean, so this is the thing. The threshold for honkitude for Olin is just like so low that it's all honk to them.
It's all honk to them.
All honk
You were there for the Gen Con episode, weren't you? I feel like that one's another one of the very strong honks. Strong honk?
Strong honk.
Strong.
Strong.
No, you weren't, because it was no adults. That was the rule, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was okay. So yes, I was there for the Gen Con episode because that was for Ryza, wasn't it? Ryza,
right? That was right.
Yeah, that was a
Your Blood of the Void
majorly
episode?
Yeah,
Yeah. I was
Ryza
in that
episode
one.
No, I was.
For that
it was
one,
me
yeah.
and Bonnie and Jade.
The Horgon.
And yeah, no, that was an extremely honk.
That was an
episode.
The oil
extremely
and the
honk episode.
sliding, and
Yeah.
that was extremely honk.
Running for Engie, trying to get away. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I was.
What
gonna
is that,
say.
Thomas Maroney? What is
Oh,
that?
it's a Horgon.
Oh my god!
Props.
Amazing.
So-
Do you just have that sitting next
Are
to
you
your
just
chair?
advertising you want
Anyone
Maharon
can
right
come
now?
along.
Like, my God.
That's why I live alone.
Wait, it looks like there's someone behind you, but it's just a mirror.
What do you think, Xander? What do you think is the most honkitude episode?
I was gonna say that episode, but I do like that I got in my my dancing, like ballroom dancing for working together.
Yes.
Inspired by like the
was great.
Evangelion DDR work together, and you can now catch a new version of Evangelion.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Let me see. What I think, my first instinct was exactly what Sam said, because I was there for that. I can say that it was one of those things where as a GM, you're like, I'm yes-ending this. Here we go. Here we go. They're doing this. I'm not going to tell them they can't do that, because they can do that. So it was funny because I built that character up. He was one of my favorite Romulan villains. And the performance of that particular Romulan was so iconic to me. Every line he said was very calm and straightforward. He was completely just the quintessential genius mastermind. Absolutely. Like the way he threatened people was like, I suggest you leave now. Like everything totally chill, calm, vicious, evil. And then they beamed a freaking holographic goose on board his vessel. I was like, yeah, of course they're going to take my villain down a peg. They always do that.
That's how you defeat
That's
serious with silly.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jaroth42 asks, the Pillow Fort wants to know, what is your pillow/drink snack of choice for dealing with feels? The pillow doesn't have to be a literal pillow. What is your comfort for when the feels hit? What do you do either maybe before or maybe after a game?
The show. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I can tell you that what I usually do after processing a really
Puppy tar.
like a really intense. Yeah, I can tell you when there's our targ, there's our puppy targ. I can tell you when I have experienced a really intense game, 99.99% of the time, my way of dealing with it is always long conversations with Sam after the game. Sam and I usually decompress and kind of do an aftercare thing where the moment the game is over and there's been a lot of like emotions, or we just want to talk about how much we fucking love our players, Sam and I will go spend about an hour just like, can you believe what Xander did tonight? And then oh my god, and just with the food and like we'll just go off. And that's usually we used to call it stooping. We did it at GNS all the time because we would just hang out outside and for like hours just sitting on the sidewalk just talking about the game of Shield of Tomorrow or Callisto 6 we played. So we just became known as the Stoop Kids because that's all we did. We just hung out on the stoop outside and just talked about about the thing. And that was always how I was always recovering from like really emotional episodes, was just talking it out and enjoying it. So that's my answer.
including such quotes as, Sam, I know you have to go. I know you have streaming in the morning. You have the early morning stream. I'm going to let you go in just 5 minutes. But, like, did you remember when?
Yeah. Great week. So Sam, how about you?
Well, a combination of that. From time to time, I'll try to play a couple matches of Overwatch just to cool off. I did that for a while. These days, it's a little more Hades, a little less Blizzard, and a little more conversation. Yeah. A little less action.
A little less Blizzard, a little more conversation. Aki, how about you?
It's usually a beer, a bath, and whatever's on Netflix.
Classic. No one can argue with anything you just said.
Because like we end early enough that I could take like a decent bath without going to bed too late. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And I usually kind of I'll hop over and harass the kids over at TPKs in chat. That's also a lot of fun. So yeah.
How about you, Xander?
For me, if we're specifically talking about like comfort food and stuff, pho is always a go-to. I love, like, it's so comforting to me. But for emotional care, especially after Clear Skies, a lot of the time I'll check like the tags and see what people, like the fans, are writing. Like the Aux crew is so amazing and so generous with their compliments that it's nice to see. And the internet and Twitter and stuff can be so toxic sometimes that it's nice to have that safe space to.
How about you, Thomas? Do you have something that you do if like you have a really intense game session?
Yeah, we call it Roses and Thorns. That's probably a widely used thing, but it's, we'll talk about like what did we like, what didn't we like about what happened. So that's a lot of fun usually. In general, when I need to decompress from a day, I really like home renovation shows. Like I'm not handy at all, but like
got something, yeah.
But or like Master Chef or just like reality TV where people like create something. I find comforting, so I might fall asleep watching that.
Confession: one of the things that I've started doing recently, since the pandemic started, is. And maybe this will be a confession of how much I just love watching people get tortured, but Doctor Who reaction videos. When I want to watch somebody where River admits who she is for the first time, and I just want to watch people sob. Like I love going and watching those reaction videos. I always do that. Like,
tell me you're a professional GM without telling me you're a professional GM.
That's what I'm saying. Chandra asks, what do you feel has been the most defining moment of your character this far? So let me start with you, Sam.
No.
Easy
pass.
question. Okay. We'll come back to you. Think about it. Aki, what do you think has been the most character defining moment for you so far?
I mean, the thing with the alien artifact thing was pretty significant moment for Olin, and of course we didn't exactly get to play it out like with actual like role play or anything, but doing the roll-offs for the sorry you guys, it's Monday and I've had a bit of a week already, having a little bit of trouble putting my thoughts together, but the negotiations with the Dominion in the last few episodes, but I mean, I think there's still quite. I mean, of course, throwing tea in that Borda asshole's face was also
that was a big moment for Olin.
Really good. Nearly losing my job for it. Anyways, but I think there's still a couple of things that I've really, really wanted to see happen for Olin, and hopefully we'll get to get closer to popping that off in these last couple of episodes.
Yeah. Xander, I know you've had some pretty big moments with Tech.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the most defining moment for Tech?
Well, I mean, overall, I've been really, really happy with Tech's sort of arc, and I feel like he had a complete story told with someone who was maybe recovering from loss and then had trouble getting out there and doing stuff. And so I think that's where I took the impetus for him, and I think it wasn't one moment, but just the change in him from becoming like a timid engineer who's just happened to be good at things to a leader and a head of a department and a mentor. You know what I mean? Like different flashes of things that come up. I didn't want to harp too much on the brother stuff, but it was a nice point to come back to, and I feel like was resolved. And so, yeah,
definitely. I mean, Tech wanted to leave Starfleet. Tech was getting ready to just leave.
Yeah. And I feel like
there was even a moment where you and I were out of character. I was like, "So is Tech really going to do this?" And you were like, "I don't know.
I genuinely didn't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he might. I don't know."
Yeah.
That was really intense. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Tech's had a lot of great moments. How about you, Captain Sol?
All right. Well, then I will just shamelessly suffer recency bias because a lot of Sol, frankly, a lot more than I expected, has been about their relationship to intelligence and the fact that they seemed to be performing the actions of putting it behind them, and yet at every opportunity returning to it. That like they clearly had this issue of being very good at something and loving it too much to really want to let it go, even though they wanted to want that. And so for me, a character defining moment was very recently when they had the opportunity to sneak off into the night and be the intelligence officer. Or actually, by contrast, be who a Starfleet officer probably should be, let Taraz go in alone as the operative and deal with maybe you just sent someone into their demise. But instead, I think what really characterizes Sol is that they took the combo platter. That they did not let Taraz go in alone. That they were perhaps too close to having been that person to let someone else do it. That it really is what all of the admirals had told them about how hard it is to let go of going into the field oneself and to send other people into danger to do it. But they also were a captain, and so they had a crew, and they called in their crew, and I am very grateful to said crew for backing them up. Yeah, some of the crew were already ready to do shenanigans that Sol didn't even know about. But it's an interesting, I don't know where this character lands in the last 2 episodes, but that decision is a major inflection point for stuff that I've been seeing for them this whole arc.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. So much of Sol's arc has been about identity and about who they are as an Orion and who they think they want to be and who they really are, and all of this really fascinating stuff. It's been really interesting. The thing that really has differentiated Clear Skies from Shield of Tomorrow is, to be blunt, despite the fact that we haven't really done we've certainly had like emotional episodes, but so much of this has been a much more, if I can be blunt, a less television style like portrayal of people going on their journey, and a little more realistic about people looking for their identities out in deep space and finding out who they are out here in the black. I mean, that's been Exio's journey. That's been Olin's journey. Tech has been trying to like move on. Macrell has been, dealing with her past and Jane LaCat, for God's sakes. Like everybody, the whole crew of the USS Ross, this whole crew has this whole journey across the Shackleton Expanse, the Alpha Quadrant, has been about a search for identity. And like coming to peace with oneself. And that I don't think really became clear to us until about halfway through the show, where it started becoming very apparent that we were all sharing a theme. And for me, that was deeply personal because we were just coming out of Geek and Sundry. And I had attached so much of my personal identity to what I had built over there. I didn't have any answers for myself either. And Clear Skies has inadvertently, well-titled name giving us this opportunity, which, by the way, Thomas Maroney came up with the logo for Clear Skies. So if you like our title logo. So Anyway, okay, a couple more questions. With so many great systems and role players available, are there any plans to expand the Streampunks cast and/or programming? So I can answer that one. When it comes to programming, we're really at the mercy of somebody who donates their time and energy to us out of the sheer joy for doing what he does and the kindness of what he is doing. That is one Jake, who is with us tonight. Say hi, Jake. Say hi, Jake. Be there. Say hi,
I had
Jake.
to unmute myself. Hi.
Yeah, I had to unmute yourself. So Jake is a very busy dude who not only balances a day job, but devotes all of his evenings to producing content for QueueTimes when he's not doing videos on YouTube for the QueueTimes channel. So the expansion of any kind of programming from Streampunks, we play within the boundaries of what we got and the bandwidth of what we got. So that's, and when it comes to the other stuff, for example, like where we're at with, say, members and whatnot coming and going, Streampunks was always meant to be sort of a loose affiliation of gamers who were coming together and playing when they could. So you're going to see a lot of us coming and going all the time, but everyone is a part of the Streampunks. There's always going to be like a fluctuation of like availability and who is available for like the next campaign. I can tell you that like there have been games I've wanted to run, and a few of the members of the cast have been like, I'm in 5 different versions of that game. I can't play it anymore. I'm sorry, I love you, but no. And so we move on. Xander's feeling so called out. Listen, I don't know anybody who plays D&D more than Xander.
So much D&D.
So much D&D.
I was also in. There was a point where I was like 3 or 4 D&D games in a week, and I was just like,
oh man, yeah,
so
it's nuts. So the cast of Streampunks is always going to be shifting based on the games that we play, but I can tell you that everyone that you see here is always going to be making an appearance in Streampunks games. We're always going to be contributing and like creating together. So that I can tell you is true.
The goal is that eventually all of our streaming buddies consider themselves Streampunks because we have assimilated them.
Exactly.
Snaps in chat.
Yes, exactly. And to finalize that too, it also depends, and to be blunt, it also depends on how we do with budgets and whatnot. And that has a lot to do with like, one of the things I can tell you right now that we would love to do is give Blood of the Void another night. That would be a lot of fun if we could have more Blood of the Void. And we kind of wrestle with the restrictions because we're such an independent group. We kind of play around with what we can and what we're not capable of. If we can achieve it at some point, we would love to have more of that. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. Next question is, Aki, what is it like so far to play the part of an empathic ambassador? Answer that.
It's been really interesting because Aki is, I don't want to say that I'm not empathic. I am somebody who works better when I can feel the energy of a room necessarily than doing like this is a lot of practice. This takes a lot of work, and this takes a lot of extreme focus, and that means I miss a lot. Like there are things that I'm going to see at a table that I might miss with like 7 windows. Like so playing Olin, playing Olin has been legitimately challenging in some ways because there are a lot of nonverbal cues that I can't pick up. And there's only so much communicating that we can do like over DMs and channels like that, because everybody else is also trying to focus on what's going on. I think that I'm somebody who naturally feels things pretty deeply, like if I'm very invested in it. And so because I love these people and I love the people that they're playing, like that is all very meaningful to me as a person who cares about these people. And so I try to channel as much of that as I can into Olin. There are aspects to Olin that have not yet had the chance to explore that I'm hoping the future opportunities will provide me. But being empathic in this game with all of the challenges that we had from COVID has been an interesting exercise.
and not just understanding everybody at the table better, but understanding myself better.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you said. I would say that from the beginning, from the day we started playing Doctor Who to Clear Skies, this group was always we always have flourished in the live theater environment. We're a very intimate group. We connect with each other very closely. Like you see it happening all the time. The reason why you don't see LA by Night doing remote plays is because they have made it a point that they want to do it in person because it's important to keep that dynamic going. And I completely agree with that approach. I spent 20 years being an actor, so that's always going to be my feelings on it. Elisa's the same way. We're in a position now, though, because of COVID, that going remote has given us that challenge. It has been incredibly challenging. So I sympathize completely with what Aki's answer. As a GM, just piggybacking off what you're saying, it's been incredibly difficult to do it. It's had its perks for sure, though. There have been some really cool things about doing it remote, and we've had opportunities to play with people that we wouldn't normally be able to play with, which has been fantastic. Like in our Streampunks Alien game, we finally got to play with CB. Like I haven't gotten a chance to do that. CB's not local, so we wouldn't have been able to play with Omega if they hadn't been remote, So there's been a lot of challenges, but I'm with Aki on this one as a GM. Like even running the NPCs, it's a lot more challenging for me. And what I have discovered at the end of every game session is I have less and less of a compass as to how a game went when the game wraps. And I kind of reflect over it. I'm already aware that I'm going to be kind of critical because that's just, your bad brain going. But remote play has made it challenging for me to be like, was that okay? I think they had fun. Like, I think it seemed like it worked out okay. So yeah, so I sympathize with what you're saying there. Oh, this is a very important question. We got a few more questions and we'll wrap up here. This one's from Cole Drake. Do starships run on broken pencils? We do have 2 warp cores, so it's possible that there are so many broken pencils that we have had to use broken pencil containment fields.
I mean, I think our chief engineer and our ship architect are most qualified to answer such questions.
I'm also gonna say that to piggyback off that, the secondary warp core was Thomas Maroney's idea.
Hey,
yep.
Stop putting pencils in my warp cores.
Thomas was the one that gave us a secondary warp core, and that's what led to us taking the enhanced power systems trade. Yeah.
And who knew that it would become such a thing? But like, I think in one of the first episodes, it was just like a bit, and then it became.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was like, man, they're really milking that for.
Yeah. We have an emoji.
A lot of Xander. Like you were responsible for 2 starting.
Yeah,
and
true.
now like the entire number is ruined, and I'm so pissed.
Yes. For every time I've ever said it's been, there's always somebody who's going 2, and it's like.
I have to say though too, every time you've done as a result,
yes,
it sounds like as a result, and it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it gives us this beautiful, like it even happened earlier this session, and I saw this brief moment of Eric being like, "Hey, wait, what are they doing?" Because inevitable as the sunrise, Xander and I will somehow through the camera catch each other's eye to giggle together. I didn't think you could do eye contact in a voice conference. Video conference until I met Xander, and as a result, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite little goofs.
Here's a question from Rogan, our good friend of the Stream Punks. Rogan is a very good friend of the groups and a supporter of ours. Rogan asks, Eric, you have a lot of regular NPCs to play. How is that experience for you? I absolutely adore juggling like 40 characters. I love playing an entire room of people.
You don't say.
I love orphan blacking the hell out of like everything. When it comes to running NPCs, I love coming up with NPCs on the fly. Most of my most memorable PCs have all just been off the cuff and ran with it. So for me, it's been a lot of fun. I will say though, again, going back to what Aki was just talking about, it's been a little more challenging than it normally is because so much of the inspiration that comes from NPCs comes from the energy that I'm getting from my players. Like let me put it this way. I knew I know there was let's just say there was a particular character in Shield of Tomorrow, a Bolian, that ended up getting rescued. I knew who that character was once I saw him interacting with Mala Ren, is how I found that character. That would have been really hard to do on live stream. I found Asmi Shanto because of interactions that I had with Ravity at the table, and was able to carry that forward into the live stream. But there have been moments where I haven't had an intention for an NPC or how they play, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's who they are. But when I play remotely, I discover the energy is not what I expected it to be. It's something completely different. I'll give you an example. Taraz is sort of like our notorious, likable, questionable pirate captain person and all of that, but he is not Zazrit. Like Zazrit was like always grinning,
sexy,
completely confident, self-assured, sexy. Taraz is more of like your junkyard pirate. He is more of like wears the trashy clothes, thinks he's cleverer than he really is, acts like he's everyone's friend and is, but still doesn't have any problems just like outright slaughtering people. Like he's not as charismatic in any way, shape, or form. He's questionable. He is a highly questionable character. But I thought he was going to be the answer to this campaign's like anti-hero. He's not. Taraz, especially in our last games, Taraz has really crystallized to me of like, this is an NPC whose energy developed over remote, and as a result, they came out to be someone totally different. So it's been really fascinating watching that happen.
It makes a lot of sense because that NPC each was intended to interact with a different captain because, of course, they are different characters and legally distinct.
Yes.
But one was distinct. Much more Starfleet, much more human Starfleet. Like the person who Martinez was needed a different foil, and I got to just be sulky at a pirate that Sam like loved, but like Sol was like, no, I don't find you charming or cute. All the time.
We got 2 more questions. So the next question is from Darth Pillow. What system will you be using for Starjam? We are actually going to be playing 5th edition D&D for Starjam. Starjam, actually, there have been so much community content that has come out because there's so much love for the bizarre world of Spelljammer. Spelljammer is D&D that goes way off the edge of the map and just keeps going and doesn't stop. In fact, Spelljammer encourages you to take monsters as a GM. It encourages you to take monsters that everyone thinks they know and completely change their stats. So coming across a Tarask in Starjam that has the stats of a goblin, totally possible. In which case, now you have your next campaign's version of Sal, the Tarask. So
okay,
like,
I have a quick lightning round question for Thomas then. If you're familiar at all with it, if you were to take like a D&D monster and make a starship around it, what's like the monster that you would pick that you'd be most like inspired by?
That's a great question.
Oh, wow. I mean, the easy answer is a dragon, right? Like make a giant dragon-inspired spaceship. I don't think you could go wrong doing that. Also, a beholder spaceship would be pretty interesting.
I want the gelatinous cube spaceship.
Yes.
There already is one. It's just not gelatinous.
Right.
It could still be gelatinous.
But the Borg do... I mean,
just inside going, let us out, being digested.
But if you think about what the gelatinous cube does and what the Borg do, it's not dissimilar, you know?
That's true. I'm going to assimilate you into the digestive system.
All right, so you heard it first. Beholder inspired. I mean, if it's beholding things, it's presumably a cargo ship. We'll find out soon. Come to you at Star Trek Online.
One more question here. This is from DJ Phoenix, who has been watching us. So fun story about DJ Phoenix. DJ Phoenix has been watching us for ages now. And the reason why I have to tip my hat to DJ Phoenix is because something like 4 years ago, whenever the hell it was now, that we started Shield of Tomorrow, right before I had to step back from my constant video game playing, I sent out an email to my entire my fleet in STO. And I was like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm having to step back from the fleet because I'm just gotten so busy. I'm doing this thing now, but I've got a show called Shield of Tomorrow. So if you guys ever want to come watch it on the Geek and Sundry, it's a Star Trek show. And one person showed up for it and has been here with us ever since. That's DJ Phoenix. Nice. DJ Phoenix and I were in the same fleet together in STO a bajillion years ago. Wow. And gets the honor of the last question. So DJ Phoenix asks, what has been your favorite feels moment in Clear Skies? It doesn't have to be about your character specifically. And this time we're going to start with Sam, and I'm not letting Sam off the hook. Go.
Exio's family. Exio and her mom, just like all of it. But like, you know, obviously particularly the culmination of it with Redgrave, and just I remember screaming at the camera. I think Soul said something, but like Sam's heart was screaming like, tell her you love her. And I kept like pronouns intentionally ambiguous because honestly it was freaking both. And Redgrave never said it, and I still have feelings, but just like everything that Exio was in that scene. Like, if you want feels, there is a fine purveyor of feelings in Gina DeVivo. And Lo, she done did the thing. She did it real bad. My feelings out on the floor. Just
good one. How about you, Aki?
I think it might have been Tech avoiding his brother.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Tech really just not wanting to see his brother
or that iteration.
Yeah, that iteration of his brother. Yeah. That one was a rough one for me. I was just like, what?
What a good choice. What a good choice.
How about you, Xander?
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to my mind was Sol with their parents, like in the ice cream shop, right? Like the sort of erase your child from existence because of, you know, oh God, yeah. And seeing them again, like seeing them out and succeeding and leading.
Y'all are picking all the good ones.
That was so fun.
I'm gonna chip in here, and since y'all have already picked pretty much the ones that I was going to pick, I'm gonna chip in here and say, I made such a cheap shot on Gina DeVivo. I was such a cheap shot, but it was when Gina DeVivo encountered a mysterious plant creature in the mycelial network.
Oh yeah,
it was playing music.
Yeah. It
was playing music, and Gina
You're
said,
a rad bastard.
Yeah, Gina said it's a beautiful song, and the plant creature said thank you. It was my mother gave it to me.
Oh my gosh!
And
oh,
Gina, it's funny because the happy like tears of just utter gut wrenching, like, and Gina's like, "Damn you, Eric!" Like, just like it was such a cheap shot. It was such a cheap shot. I had to take it. It was so good.
How dare you? How dare you?
It was great. It was so good. Well, y'all, that's actually going to bring us to the end of this. We were going to keep, I told everybody, I was like, I'm aiming for an hour, but I'm probably going to say it's going to be an hour and a half because these things always take a little bit longer. And I am very happy we took all that time because this was a lot of fun. We'll have to do more of these in the future, just like hangouts. But in the meantime, Thomas, thank you so much for hanging with us tonight. And just
thanks so much for inviting me. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What's like the latest campaign that's going on in Star Trek Online right now?
So we finished up our giant Klingon Civil War arc. We finished that up earlier this year called House with an update called House United. It features Mary Chieffo reprising her role.
We love Mary Chieffo.
Reprising her role as Chancellor Laurel. Which was super fun. She's so great. She actually did a music video for us, which I don't know if you've seen it.
But with Jason Charles Miller, who composed the theme song to Blood of the Void. Yes.
Yeah. And
Mary and the other Mary as well jumped in on that, didn't she?
Mary
Weissman.
I don't remember.
Was she involved in that one, or do I have
that wrong?
She
was involved. I mean,
maybe
I
she
think
was just sharing it.
Yeah, she was probably sharing it for Mary, but But Mary, we do have Mary Weissman as Tilly, as both Tillys in Stowe as well.
Captain Star Trek crush.
Yeah,
not
Captain
Mirror
Tilly.
Universe Tilly.
Yay!
Not Mirror Universe Tilly. Mirror Universe Tilly is terrifying, but Prime Universe Tilly is my Star Trek crush right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're coming up. I can't really say much, but there's always new stuff to be done in Stowe, and I think people will learn more about that soon. So I'm really excited. I've been working really hard on some really awesome ship updates related to that. So I'm really excited for people to see that coming out soon.
I love that you call it Stowe, like Stovacore.
That was we had a wiki page that was it was a character art request page, and it was Stovocar.
That's pretty good. Hey, so y'all, this is going to bring it into our Q&A. Thank you so much. Just saying a quick word with the announcement that Clear Skies is going to be wrapping. This has been such an incredible journey, and we're looking forward to it. We did see a couple of questions about this, and I kind of reiterated this a couple of times on my own personal stream and whenever we get a chance to talk about it. But since we actually have a captive audience right now who shows up for Clear Skies, I'll tell you that Clear Skies is going to be unique in the way it ends, in that it's not going to end the way Shield of Tomorrow or any of our other shows have ended, because as our own masters of our own destiny, we can always come back. And the idea behind Clear Skies is that is going to evolve into, whenever the Streampunks play Star Trek, it's going to be a Clear Skies game, whether it be a Romulan one-shot or the Time Kids coming back to save the universe again, who I miss the Time Kids so much. There's always going to be opportunities to revisit the ship of the USS Ross. What we're completing on the 20th will be the end of the great main campaign journey of this great crew and this wonderful campaign that we've had a chance to play. Our first foray outside on our own, under our own wind, and we have you to thank for that. So thank you so much, Ox crew, from following us from the decks of the Ross, across the floor, the TARDIS, through the streets of Los Angeles 21. Just thank you for everything. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We will catch you guys soon. Stay tuned for Blood of the Void. That is going to be next Monday at 6:30 p.m. And things are getting pretty interesting there. I can't give any spoilers, but I may know a thing or two. Enjoy. Have fun. We will catch you, the crew of the USS Ross. We are coming back. As a quick reminder, we will be back after the 6th. We'll be back on the 13th for the penultimate episode of Clear Skies. Until then, my friends, hailing frequencies are closed.